Hello, my name is Kelsey, and I had lobster for lunch. Welcome back to the podcast, Can You Take My Shift? Time to gather around the water cooler, children, because we've got some cheeky gossip for you this week.
Ooh, cheeky, fun stuff to talk about this week.
But before we get into this episode, we do want to give a disclaimer, a little message. We are recording this on January 19th. It's a Tuesday. This will come out on a Thursday like we do every week. So if shit hits the fan on Wednesday, unfortunately, we cannot see into the future. I mean, if we could, we obviously would not be living in a one-bedroom apartment.
No, we'd be rather famous at this point.
Yeah, so if something happens and we don't talk about it, that's why. But you know, we stand with Lady Gaga, whatever side she's on. Yes,
we're just hoping for our friends in the South and all our American listeners, we just hope everything goes okay on Wednesday. Y'all have had a rough week. So I just want everything to go good. And yes, we're still going to be posting on time. So we don't want any, nothing we're going to talk about hopefully comes off as insensitive. I don't think it will, but we just want to cover our bases. This was all recorded pre-inauguration.
Yeah. But let's get into some innocent news to start off. Yes. So it is winter. We have had no snow this winter, but it's apparently going to snow this weekend.
I'm really excited.
Why?
Okay, well, I come from Calgary, and we usually get a decent amount of snow. When I had to go home from my quick little medical trip, there was a decent amount of snow on the ground, and I think there still is. And I miss it just a little. Not a lot. I like snow for about 2 weeks, and then after that, I'm done.
So yeah, I like snow for one day, and that is it. Because, growing up in Victoria, it's the place where it snows the least amount in Canada. Yeah. So I didn't really, it would maybe snow every other year. We had 2 big snowfalls my entire childhood. And so how much snow would it take for your school to get canceled?
Our schools never got canceled. Never. I remember going to school one day in negative 35-degree weather, and there were school buses that physically couldn't get to school, but classes still ran. So kids were trying to figure out how to get there. Half my classes were empty. I ended up skipping school. Me and a friend went to the mall.
Yeah. So they will cancel school in Victoria between 2 to 8 inches of snow. That is it. And the problem is there's this giant highway on the island. And so from one community to get into Victoria, you have to take this highway. But this highway becomes so incredibly dangerous because nobody has winter tires, nobody has snow tires. It gets so incredibly icy that they have to shut it down. So obviously those kids can't get to school. So they'll just will cancel school because the amount of car accidents that happen, because nobody knows how to drive in the snow. Nobody has, again, winter tires. Everybody drives a lot of small cars, well, except for the people who drive trucks in Victoria because they think they're hicks. No shame. I mean, some of my family members have trucks. No shames, but y'all aren't hicks. You live in the most pampered place in
Truly.
Canada.
No, I remember last year when it snowed in the winter. Our school got canceled for 2 days, I think, and I called my dad, and he was like, "How's the weather over there?" It's always just a point of conversation. I went, "Yeah, my school's been canceled for 2 days," and he just could not stop laughing. He's like, "How much snow's on the ground?" And I say, I mean, there's a light dust stain, but the thing is, it gets really icy here because it hovers between that 2 degrees Celsius to negative 2 degrees Celsius, and because you guys don't have the things put in place, you don't have sand trucks and all those things, and no one here has winter tires. I really doubt if people here even have all-weather tires. I know there's summer, all season, all weather, and then winter. I feel like people here barely even have all weather. They probably just have all season.
Yeah. So, no, we are not prepared.
No.
But no, I don't think there really has been too much news. I mean, obviously, COVID is still ongoing. Then there's a whole delay in vaccines. But, hopefully that won't be too bad. And, I'm not scared of the vaccine at all. Literally, I lived in Florida. That should just be enough.
Honestly, yeah. We did some things there that, yeah, we're fine. We don't need to worry about it at all.
So, to get into this week's episode, I'm not going to tread lightly, but I will kind of. So I have become very active on Twitter. Well, I'm trying to become more active. I'm trying to tweet at least once a day so I can get my 11,000 followers.
Yes, still working on that.
Still working. No new followers this week, so I'm not going to say you guys let me down, but a pity follow is still a follow. So, like, I feel like, I don't know, do I need to, like, start taking, like, thirst traps? Or, like, I don't know what my niche would be.
I don't know. My niche is usually just, like, oversharing, but someone finds it relatable. Yeah. Or I just tweet about, like, dumb things my family has said or done.
And I'm not even, like, on any fandom Twitter, so I can't, like, I don't know, fandom or stan. I mean, like, I guess kind of like Mamma Mia stan Twitter, but it's not that big.
I mean, it's big enough. Like, you could tweet an opinion, right?
That's fair. But the big talk about Twitter. So Biden is the president-elect for the United States.
Yes.
And there's the whole talk of, in the U.S., a $15 minimum wage.
Yes.
Because currently in the U.S., as of 2019, the $7.25 is the U.S. minimum wage. As of 2019.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. So in 2016, New York and California became the first states to pass legislation that would gradually raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour in each state, followed by Massachusetts in 2018, and in 2014, the U.S. Senate debated the minimum wage on the federal level by way of the Minimum Wage Fairness Act. Yes. Now, $7.25 is ridiculous. Like, even when you think of the conversion rate for, like, you know, our American listeners and our Canadian listeners. So we worked in Florida in the U.S. in 2016, 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you paid $10 the whole time?
I think it was like $9.75 or $10.25 or something like that.
Okay, so I was paid $10 the entire time unless I was training. Then I was paid $11.
Yes, you always got that extra dollar while you were training.
So even then, that's still, so even though we were making more than the minimum wage, we were working 30 to 40 hours a week. We had no money.
In terms of money, we had no money.
And also, too, so we were living in a one-bedroom apartment. There was 3 of us. And what was our rent? Like $110 a week?
I think so. Something like that. It was expensive. So it's like $110 a week times that by 4 weeks a month.
Yeah.
So it was like $440 a month from each of us.
Yeah.
So 440 times 3. My brain is a little fried. I'm gonna grab a calculator. So that's $1,300 a month, roughly.
That apartment was not worth $1,300 a month.
So if you want to convert that to what we pay, because we live in a 1-bedroom together, it kind of equals out to be the same thing, but it was not worth. That's still one more extra person.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's insane. What we do right now is insane. We do it for our own reasons.
Yeah.
But 3 people, that's no.
And, like, that is not a livable wage. So in Canada right now, the general minimum wage is $14.60 per hour as of June 1st, 2020. And then it will be moving to $15.20 on June 1st, 2021. Now, $15.20 Canadian is $11.94 USD.
Dang.
So our minimum wage is cheaper. Like, for instance, $15 US would be $19.10 in Canadian. So the thing is, like, people go, oh, it's not that much money. If I was making almost $20 an hour, that would change our entire situation. The thing is, the lower income levels are so small in between.
Yep.
That it can completely, $5 extra an hour can completely change your whole situation.
Oh, no, it's a big deal. That extra $5 is the difference between paying a bill or buying groceries or just, living a normal life.
Because I looked it up too. So when you take a look at the cost of living index in North America, it's different for Europe and other countries, but we're just going to focus on North America. The most expensive place in North America that has the highest cost of living is Hamilton in Bermuda. And then number 2 is New York City. And then number 3 is San Francisco, California. And then if you scroll, it's mostly U.S. states until you get to number 17, Toronto, and number 18, Vancouver. They are very close behind each other.
Yes.
Now, the fact that so the whole concept of minimum wage is ridiculous, because when you talk to someone, it's very easy when you talk to an older generation of the wage inequality they don't fully understand, and we'll get into many reasons why.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is a comedic podcast and like we don't want to get too serious, so I'll try.
We will bring some humor into this, but we just also, because we are two people who have worked literally minimum wage jobs our entire life.
Yeah.
And it really sucks.
It does. It really completely sucks. And also, too, I hate the whole argument that minimum wage equals minimum effort, because I have worked jobs where I have done 10 times the amount of work and gotten paid minimum wage. And then I have worked jobs where I have done less the work and got paid more. Well, take being a server. So being a server, they can pay you underneath minimum wage.
Which is ridiculous to me, but I digress.
Yeah, so when I was a server, I was getting paid, I think my wage was, so not including tips, because tips are never guaranteed. And I think that's the whole thing with the tipping industry. Tips are never guaranteed. Like, yeah, you can make a lot of money serving, or you can make zero money serving. Like how I've talked about before, when my restaurant lost their liquor license, I wasn't making any money.
No.
I think I was making $11.25 an hour serving when minimum wage was 13 something. So I was making $11.25 an hour, and then I got a job at the boat rental place where they paid me $18 an hour.
Yep.
Yeah, I did, like, the job at the boat place wasn't easy. Like, it was a lot of computer stuff, but I had a way better experience there and did less work, but yet, and they, they valued my time, and it was a job that I didn't really need much experience. I walked into the interview, got the job on the spot.
Yeah.
How is that? How is that one job like not to? And then we'll scratch the serving, because the whole serving industry is completely messed up.
Yes.
When I was working at the coffee shop, I was making minimum wage.
Yes.
So that's a set job, minimum wage. I worked 10 times harder at the coffee shop than I did at this little boat rental place.
Oh yeah. No, it comes down to that whole. I think we should have TikTok about this on the podcast Instagram at Can You Take My Shift? Shameless plug. But
always be plugging.
Always be plugging.
Yeah.
But we shared this TikTok and it explained why there is such a weird gap. Because I've been applying to a lot of jobs recently. I'm a recent graduate. And every job I go look for, they all say entry-level positions. But all these entry-level positions still expect 2 to 3 years of experience. And I don't think that's fair, and it's not fair. It's complete utter bullshit. But this TikTok did a really good job of explaining it, and I think it's something that we're going to kind of come into again in like the future now, when the huge crash happened back in 2008. Mm-hmm. Everybody lost their job, right? Like, my parents lost their jobs back then. Everybody did. It was very upsetting. And then they had a whole bunch of people who now needed entry-level jobs because that's all that they could find. That's all that was hiring. But all these people who went for these entry-level jobs had all this experience from different places they had worked, right? So they were able to bring all that experience now to the table. So now all these jobs think that all that experience is the bare minimum, which it's not. And our education system hasn't caught up for that, because we're still learning all the same education. Mm-hmm. The textbooks may get updated every single year, but it's the same information being told to you over and over and over again. And so our education hasn't caught up with what the job industry expects from us, which is not fair.
No, it's not fair. And I mean, life isn't fair, but like also too, so our education system is not preparing us for this. And then also too, if you look for internships, they don't want to pay you.
Yes.
But it's illegal to have an unpaid internship, so they get around it by saying, oh, it's only for school credit.
Yeah.
Which is still bullshit, because I was going to school full time, working 40 hours a week, yep. And then I'm supposed to take on an unpaid internship. Like, how?
I will never forget one thing my teacher told me, and it kind of haunts me to this day, because we live in Vancouver. It's a very expensive city. Yeah. I was going to school full time. I was working full time. I used to stay up till like 3 or 4 a.m., have to go to class the next day, and then go right from class to work. Like, it was exhausting. I honestly don't know how I did it. But I remember when I was trying to find an internship, I had to find an internship to graduate. My teacher literally told me, you might need to sacrifice some of your work to get where you want to go. And as I agree with that sentiment, because if you really, really want something, you do have to sacrifice something for it. But I don't think that's fair. Like, we do this podcast. We make no money off this podcast. We do it because it's something we like to do. Sure, we would love to make money off this podcast, and we're figuring out. We'll get there eventually. But I don't think it's fair that I should have to sacrifice my time to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Or, like, to do, like, the work, just be, like, to go be, like, a coffee jockey or something like that.
Yeah, I need to sacrifice maybe being able to eat this week so I can learn nothing about fashion and walk your dog.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, how is that? Like, the thing about the podcast is we do this of our own, like, volition. Like, this is a hobby. Let's be honest. It's a hobby.
It's a hobby, but it's a fun hobby.
Yeah. And, a couple times we've had to skip a week because life has gotten crazy.
Yeah.
But that's our choice.
It's our choice.
We choose to spend time on this, right?
Yeah.
But it's also, too, it's frustrating. And then, so yes, you know what? We made this choice to live in the second most expensive city in Canada.
We did, but also the city is not helping itself.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll probably explain it way better than I have. You lived here way longer, so I'll let you take it.
The problem is the city is aging out everybody.
Yeah.
So the cost of living is so high with, like, the housing market is fucked. If you, like, price out your,
like, working population.
Who is going to work at the coffee shops? Who is going to work at the fast food places, right? No one's going to commute an hour to a job at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like, we have, you go downtown to Pacific Center, you have that giant food court. Like, where do you think all those employees have to live? If you're going to pay them minimum wage, 90% of them can't afford to live downtown. So they're commuting. Like, when I was working downtown, I commuted. Took me 30 to 40 minutes to commute to work.
Yes.
Because I cannot afford to live downtown. But I'm like, okay, transit is accessible, but I always give myself an hour to get to work because I'm crazy neurotic. I'm like, this is going to happen, this could happen, this could happen. I never want to be late. But that's 2 hours out of my day.
It's a lot of time.
And, like, of course, commuting is something everybody does. But when you're commuting from minimum wage job, what is the point? When you could go live somewhere and pay less in rent and work the exact same job. Like, if you wanted to move to, example, Chilliwack. So Amy and I are looking at moving, and we've been looking for places. And rent is incredibly cheap. Chilliwack.
Because no one wants to live there.
Exactly, no one wants to live there.
No one wants to live there.
That's why. But, like, if you're just working at McDonald's, you could afford a really nice place in Chilliwack than working, like, living in a shithole in Vancouver and working at McDonald's. So you're aging out all of your workers. Yeah. And then also, too, like, we need lower paid workers, but where are they supposed to live? They're all just going to leave. And then it's like, who's going to do that job? Yeah. Like, one big thing for me is I absolutely loathe, like, I think you're the scum of the earth if you make fun of people doing a job that you think is beneath you.
Yeah, like, look, if you've never cried in a walk-in, like storage freezer or a stock room or in the bathroom of your work, you have no say in the minimum wage debate. Like, people who make fun of people who work these jobs, like Karens. Like, we were all, like, really terrible kids growing up. We all made fun of people who worked at McDonald's, but we were kids. Yeah. If you were an adult who thinks that you are better at somebody who works at McDonald's, you are not. That's a hard job. That
is an incredibly hard job. Like, I have known so many people who have worked at McDonald's. Yeah. I even applied for McDonald's at one point when I was trying to get a job in high school.
Like, we called all these people the backbone of our society, like, during the pandemic. Like, our grocery store workers, all the people who had to work in fast food. Like, I had to go work. I got paid, like, the danger pay.
Yeah, but we called these people our essential workers. They kept us all running. Yeah. And it's all gone now again. So what? So if ever we didn't have a single person at the grocery store working, what is Galen Weston gonna come down from his castle on the hill and actually work at one of his grocery stores?
Yeah, like, no one was talking about how the CEO of McDonald's apparently made like $18 million and, like, do you think maybe that should be talked about? Like, maybe that's the reason the price of the Big Mac is going up, because of the amount of money those people are taking home? Yeah. They shouldn't be making that much money.
So then the people at the law, so Galen Weston, for those who don't know, is the third richest person in Canada because they are the owner of Loblaws. And Loblaws owns President's Choice, Superstore, No Frills, No Name Brand. So that's what they own.
I think a bunch of people probably saw on Twitter this week that grocery store ad that was going around. It was like an anime ad, and everyone was like, what kind of grocery store goes this hard? That's No Frills. That's owned by Galen Weston. So it's a funny commercial, but a terrible company.
So they instated hazard pay during the pandemic. That's what it's called.
Yes.
And then they took it away from their employees because they're like, oh, you're not a hazard anymore. COVID cases are higher than when they had that hazard pay.
Yep.
They are much higher right now. And so as someone from experience, so I don't like to call out company names because I'm like, oh, are they gonna come for us? You know what? I will fully call out this company because I don't care and I never, ever, ever want to ever work for them.
Yeah.
Fuck Loblaws. Fuck them. So I worked for Superstore. I worked for Superstore for 2 miserable months.
Oh, God.
So I had just freshly moved to Vancouver. I was 18. Literally, it was a month after I turned 18. Real fresh. I was going to college and I was like, I need a job. Because my parents were going to help me out on rent for, they're like, we'll help you out on rent for, your first year of college. So, because I couldn't get a student loan, the government was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have a student loan. So I was like, okay, cool. So my parents were like, okay, we saved, we'll help you, but you need to have a job. So I got a job at Superstore. I literally saw they were hiring, handed them my resume. They're like, okay, I get a call. We need you to do a background check. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I send it a background check. I get hired. Not even an interview.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even talk to the girl who took my resume.
Huh.
And then they're just like, what are your availability? So I gave them my availability. I started working there 3 nights a week now. I was away from home for the first time. I was already dealing with homesickness and university being overwhelming. I was so depressed working there. I was coming home crying every night. The customers treated me like garbage. People do a lot of bulk buying at Superstore more than they do at your Safeways or your Save on Foods.
Yeah.
And which is totally fair. It's reasonable prices and you have a lot of lower income families do all their shopping at Superstore.
Yeah.
And so it makes understand things but they would always have these deals of the week and
yes.
I don't know, and you had to offer the deal of the week, or if they didn't, they didn't get it for free. And then Superstore is one of the kind of grocery stores that will take coupons. Some of the other grocery stores are kind of iffy with coupons.
No, I remember, because Superstore used to be my local one when I lived in Calgary. They always took coupons.
Yeah. So people would try to give me fake coupons all the time.
Oh my God.
And I would get screamed at. I was so dead inside. And then because you would usually put me on the express checkout because I couldn't handle the big long orders because my mental health was just deteriorating. So he put me on the express checkout and you know that gif of Mariah? Oh, suddenly I can't read.
Yeah.
Here's my cart full of 200 cans, but I go in the express checkout. Someone actually made the argument to me once. Well, it's 15 different items, right? These 10 bags of chips all count as one item because they're all chips.
No. That hurts my brain. No. That's not how that works.
Yeah, and I was just I was so miserable. That fluorescent lights, that is a hard job. And you're also remembering all those codes and SKUs for all of the vegetables.
Oh, good. Did they not give you a cheat sheet?
They give you a cheat sheet, but that booklet is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And you're flipping through and you can't remember, and then people get mad at you. What do you mean? And also, okay, I was my mom cooked a lot, but she didn't cook my mom's a white cook.
Yeah.
My mom cooks white food. And I of course moved to Vancouver. So I didn't recognize a lot of Asian vegetables.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. I'd never had them before. People would bring up these vegetables and I'm like, where the fuck did you get this? And they'd be and then some of them wouldn't even tell me what it was. I'd be like, oh, what's this? And they're like, I don't know. You don't know what you're buying? So I don't know how many, and then they're like, make sure you don't make mistakes, scan every item. I typed in wrong shit all the time because I don't know what that vegetable is. You have no idea either. And then because then you have to call and get someone to check, and then they would get so mad at you. It's
not worth the fight.
It was just a terror. And you know what? sometimes I just let it go. I was just like, I'm not even gonna figure this out. If I could figure out it was probably under a couple dollars, I was just like, I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah. No, that's 100% fair. I remember my second coffee shop I ever worked at was attached to a superstore. And I will say, some of the managers who were there were the shittiest customers I've ever had in my life. The employees, very nice, very lovely for the most part. The employees that would come in with the managers, like the ones who worked like customer service that always are like kiss asses to them, they sucked. But any of the cashiers were nice enough. But no, fuck Superstore.
It is like to this day still my least favorite job. Like even all the other jobs that have fucked me over. Like my breaking point was when I came home one night and tried to open I was locked out of my room because I forgot my keys and my roommate was still at school, and I had like a little bag of groceries from Superstore because I'd also ride my bike to and from work. And I was trying to open up a can of pineapple, and I just started crying in the middle of the dorm floor.
Oh,
and the girl, yeah, and the girl from the hall across the hall comes on and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "You really need to quit this job." And I was like, "I can't," because like my school schedule was so hectic because I was in an acting program where you had to devote so much time. It was the hardest thing in the world to work.
Yeah.
And like none of my classmates were working, and they're like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I really don't know." So I just quit. I walked in and quit. I didn't even give my week's notice. I was like, "Here's my resignation letter," and they're like, "We need your badge back." And I was like, "Okay." And I never ended up getting a vest because they used to wear vests at one point.
They did.
I had just like a t-shirt that was like the t-shirt of the month.
Need your badge back. Here's your $2 piece of plastic.
Like, just take it. And then they were also really bad so I moved obviously from the dorms, and then I moved into a new place going to college. But I tried to it took me so long to get my T5 from them. It was so awful. Sorry, T4. It was like the hardest thing forever to get my T4. And like they sent me through, you have to talk to this person, you have to talk to this person. Like I'm so happy now that you can just get it on like the CRI website.
It's so easy now. It is so easy.
Because that was like all hell tracking that down.
Good Lord.
But like also too, like that's the thing with big box stores is like people there are truly like they are the hardest workers because those places are so miserable, and that place only like barely took 2 months to snap me, like completely snap me. And then there's another big box store, which
neither of us have worked at.
Yeah, no, neither of us have worked at. I mean, we still shop there, but we hate it, which is Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, we don't shop there that often. Like,
No.
we really don't. But that's because, like, our local Walmart's pretty far.
Oh, yeah, our local Walmart is so far, and that parking lot is just awful.
Parking lot's awful. It's a weird shaped because, like, it's like a box, and then you have to take an escalator to go up. I don't know. It's a weird Walmart.
Yeah, so we, like, growing up, like, in Victoria, of course, when you're, like, underage, there's not much to do, and one of those things is we had a huge Walmart, so if you were bored, you walked around Walmart with your friends.
Oh, yeah, and I did that, too.
Yeah. So I used to know someone who was very high up in Walmart, and when I was in high school, he was like, "Oh, you should apply for a job at Walmart." And I was like, "Okay." So I did. I applied, and I got a rejection. And I was like, "Why did I get rejected?" And he was like, "Oh, you scored too high on the test." And I was like, what, like the like, you know, like when you're doing like job applications, they're like, what would you do here? Strongly disagree, yeah. Right? And he was like, "Yeah, you scored too high." He's like, "We have 3 like scores. We have red score, yellow score, and green score. You scored in green, and we don't hire green people." And I was like, "Oh, like I thought it was like pretty smart for like a kid." And he's like, "Yeah, but we only hire yellow people because green people are usually too smart and too qualified, and we don't want them because we know they're gonna quit."
Yes.
And I was like, "What the fuck?" This is like my 16-year-old self. And I was like, yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, because y'all get frustrated and quit. So we want people who we can keep." And I'm like,
you want like the most like mid-range people who will not complain, people who truly like don't care at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, that's a really rude awakening, but it's true.
No, it is very true.
Yeah. And, like, too, people who work at Walmart, half the time they look miserable. But, again, they are essential employees.
Yep.
People who work, at Amazon. We've made these people essential employees. So why if they are essential, like if all of them walked out, we'd be fucked. So why don't they deserve more than minimum wage?
They deserve way more than minimum
Yeah.
wage. I think I read somewhere online, and the math might be off. This is an American statistic that today, according, I think it's from like the Gravel Institute or something. It was a tweet. It was a blue checkmark tweet. So it said today the minimum wage should be $23 USD, I would assume. If it had grown at the rate of productivity since the 1960s. That is insane. We are so unbelievably being exploited, and we're all okay with that. Like, I'm going to sound a little privileged here. I personally have been very, very lucky. I don't work for minimum wage. I feel like I've made that pretty clear. I am in a leadership position, and any job I've ever had, I've been able to kind of bargain for my wage just because of the experience I have. But now, trying to apply for all these jobs, they're asking me like salary questions or how much you want an hour. And most of these jobs still want you to start at the $15, $16 an hour. And it's really hard for me to adjust to that, especially considering I'm working a leadership position at a coffee shop. So it's not incredibly hard, but it's still a leadership thing. So I know how to deal with a lot of different people. And now this job, where I had to go to school for 2 years while working this job, expects me to take a pay cut to go work for them part-time. And I think that's just insane. So sorry, that's my little privileged rant of the day.
No, that's fair. I remember I went to a job interview, and I had been working for the exact same job for over a year. Like, I was fully experienced for this job. They were advertising $15 to $17 an hour. So I go to this interview, and like the interview is going well, and then they're like, "Oh, we're only looking for part-time, and you'd have to work at if you want more hours, you'd have to circle between the 3 locations, and we'd start you off at minimum wage with a 3-month probation."
That's insane.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm fully qualified for this job.
Yeah.
Like, I have the perfect experience for this job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're going in, I get it if you're going for a job that kind of would be like, if you've been a receptionist at an office and you go from a dental office, it's a bit different.
It is a bit different.
But if you're if you're a hairstylist and you're going from one salon to another salon, that's like the same caliber, high, like still like executive salon to executive salon, you clearly know how to cut hair.
Yeah, no, like when I was still working at the coffee shop and then I went and worked my retail job, I got a promotion while working at my retail job, and they asked me how much I wanted to make. And so I blatantly said this, and to this day, I can't believe I grew a backbone for these 30 seconds in the conversation. They asked, "How much do you want to make?" And I'm not going to say how much. I'll be like, I made this much at the coffee shop, so I thought I deserved, I think I said $1 less. And that was because it was still a leadership role, and I have enough leadership experience, just not in retail. But leadership is pretty transferable. It's just the retail stuff I don't understand. So that's why I said, the under the dollar. And they were like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds fair. That makes sense." Why don't all companies understand that there are certain skills that transfer to every single sector that you work in, no matter what? Like, it's all basically transferable. It's all people skills. It's all those soft skills that some people just don't have, right?
Well, like, even if you dumb it down even more, you don't go from AP math in grade 10 to remedial math in grade 11. No, you continue to go to the higher level math because that's what you're qualified for.
Exactly. So I just find it crazy. Like, I understand the idea of an entry level job because not everybody is qualified to be a CEO.
Oh, no.
But I just think that there's a lot of really, really high expectations on entry-level jobs. And right now, it just seems it's either like entry-level or unpaid intern. There's no in-between. And there needs to be an in-between.
Well, there needs to be an in-between because, see, the problem is a lot of our older generation, and our parents, not to shit on our parents, but our parents are out of touch. They have been at their jobs for years.
Yeah.
They are so out of touch. I remember when I was looking for a job and they're like, "You have to go out there with your resume. You have to go in person." I go in person, they go, "Please go online." I'm not taking your resume. Go online.
So many people come to the coffee shop every day. Hey, I have my resume. Sure, I will take this, but you also need to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
And half the time your resume just goes in garbage. Or they're like, you should follow up with them. And it's like, I've had managers tell me, yeah, this person won't stop messaging me, like, clearly since I didn't reach out to you, I don't want to even bring you in for an interview.
Yeah.
Like, it's just and it's like, oh, walk in and prove you're ready to work. No, you're fucking annoying. Like, they don't care, and that's coming from a different place. Like, you know, when our parents were applying for jobs in the 80s, you didn't apply online because you couldn't, right? Like,
it's all very different.
You have to, like, shift your perspective. And you've also been at your job so long. Like, you were telling me today how, like, people are out of touch when they're like, oh, that job is hard. Are you sure that's what you want to be doing?
Oh, yeah. Like, I've had conversations, like, with my parents, and they just don't understand, you know, I went to school for marketing. They don't understand that world. So, like, is that hard? Is that a hard job? What do you mean it's a hard job? Like, my dad worked in a very labor-intensive job. My mom works in, like, she's worked in labor-intensive jobs and things like that. And they just assume I would sit on a computer all the time. And yes, I probably will be doing a lot of desk work, but I have to do, like, the amount of research and, like, editing and projects I've had to make. Like, you know what? I would love to see my parents make a beautiful 20-slide PowerPoint presentation and then have to pitch that to a room full of people. That's difficult. It's just a different level of difficulty, right? That's all it is. And I just think that when people say, oh, isn't that job hard? Like, are you sure you could be successful in that? That just completely diminishes something that you're excited about. Like, why would you ever go up to somebody and be like, are you sure you want to do that job? What do you mean I'm sure? Why do you think I would have dedicated part of my life to thinking this is something I want to do? Are you not happy for me?
Exactly. No. So, like, for me, I'm not close with any of my extended relatives. And so I wanted to be an actress all growing up. Like, that was my passion. That was my dream. That's something I always wanted to be. And, you know, I still, now as an adult and been in the acting world, I do have a love-hate relationship with it. Mm-hmm. But I knew I wanted to go to acting school. And my mom was fully Team Kelsey. Like, my mom has always been my biggest supporter. Yeah. You know, my parents came to see this indie movie that was really awkward during a sex scene sitting beside my dad. I wasn't having the sex, just to let everybody know.
It wasn't a bad movie.
Okay, yeah, it was outdated. It was very outdated. It was like kind of like it felt like American Pie ripoff.
Just like 3 years too late.
Yeah. But anyways, besides the point, you can find it on iTunes if you really want. I'm not going to post the link though. My relatives would be like, oh, what's your backup? And I was like, well, I'm going to acting school because I want to be an actress. Yeah, but what's your backup?
And that's just rude.
That's just rude. So you're basically saying to me, so you're gonna fail. So what are you gonna do when you fail?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, am I still acting? No. Have I fully closed the door on that? Absolutely not. I still, obviously, I like to perform. I mean, this podcast is my current outlet that I love, you know? And, like, yeah, we're not Call Her Daddy making was it 500,000 or 50,000? I don't know.
I don't want
they
to
were
be
making.
Call Her Daddy.
Oh God, no. We respect women, and we don't have internalized misogyny.
Truly.
No offense to people who enjoy that, but you know, maybe
a little bit of offense. Just like reevaluate.
Yeah, exactly. There is far better. If you're looking for sex and love podcasts, there's far better ones.
Yes, but we digress.
And like, I don't care if this never makes any money. Would I like it to? Absolutely. Do I have my eye on like 5 to 2 Matoshi dresses that, like, if we ever make it big, I am buying?
Yes.
But it's something I do and I love. And if someone tells me what they want to do, I don't ask them, so what's your backup? Are you prepared to fail? Because that's exactly what that question is.
Yeah, it's just a very blatantly rude question. It's no matter what, it's rude. We are very respectful people. Like, we are like the hype people for all our friends all the time. And I've been very lucky. Like, my parents and all my family have been pretty supportive, but now that I'm graduated, it's all the questions. So what are you applying for? How's it looking out there? I'm like, it's looking like there's a freaking Pangea going on outside, and it's a little hard to find a job in the middle of, you know,
in the middle of what's
of a
going
Pandora.
on.
Like, it's difficult.
It's difficult. And also too, like, My mother's always said to me, she's like, I don't care what you do in life. All she cared was that A, graduated high school, and B, she's like, if you're happy flipping burgers for the rest of your life, because flipping burgers is still a essential and admirable job.
Yes.
Then that's all that matters. If you're happy, that's all that matters.
Yes.
Do I think the burger flipper should be making more than minimum wage? Absolutely.
Everybody should be.
Do I think CEOs deserve as much money as they get? Absolutely not. Nobody becomes a billionaire without exploiting their workers. And like, a lot of people don't get it. They put these billionaires on a pedestal that they're their heroes and they want to be just like them. First of all, so I was in one of my classes this week and there's only one man in one of my classes. And they asked him like, who do you think is an because it was Martin Luther King Day. And my teacher was like, who do you think is a key influential person right now that is like affecting the whole socio-economical climate?
Yes.
And you could say alive or dead, but you couldn't say Martin Luther King. So I said AOC is incredibly influential right now. Another girl said, Oprah still is quite influential. Princess Diana was incredibly influential.
Yeah, you could say like Michelle Obama.
Yeah, someone else said Michelle Obama, right? You're getting these like answers, Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
And then the one guy goes, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. This man, like, who came from privilege, exploited people. He exploited his workers during COVID. Do we all not remember when he didn't want to shut down?
Oh, yeah, he made a huge deal against the California government. No, that man, remember when we all thought that was our Tony Stark?
Yeah.
Boy, we were so blind.
We were so wrong. Like,
so blind.
Like, I'm 99% sure Grimes is being held captive.
Yeah.
So, like, the thing is, the billion is just incomprehensible, the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire.
I remember the first time I saw my bank account hit $1,000. That blew my mind.
And what a lot of people don't get to is people who idolize these people. You are closer to being homeless than you are closer to being that man.
Yes.
And yet, you people want to defend these billionaires, millionaires. And it's like, first of all,
they don't need your defense.
They don't need your defense at all.
You are literally gum on their shoe that they're trying to rub off.
Yeah, they would exploit you just as much. So, like, that's the thing is, like, I don't understand people who don't think workers deserve. If someone is providing you a service that you either A, can't do, or B, don't want to do, that is still a valuable job.
Obviously, you've made it essential because it is now part of your day. I work at a coffee shop where people literally come in every single day, like clockwork, to get a coffee. And they do that because it's convenient and they don't want to do it at home.
Exactly.
Like, I'll never forget when we were open, people always said, oh, making coffee at home was so terrible. I could never get it right. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I'm important, you know, and if you're going to sit here and shit on me and yell at me, no, that's not okay. That is not okay. In any business, in any service, like retail, wherever. So, I think that's where we're going to end today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry this episode got like a little ranty. We said we were going to try to make it comical, but it wasn't. Yeah. I will say, though, I liked that your teacher wanted to bring up someone influential. I would have said Hank Green.
Oh, he's being very influential right now.
I love him on TikTok. He is currently my favorite thing, except yesterday he made me have a brain aneurysm because he talked about how ice is technically lava, so we're all technically lava monsters.
God, what a great ending.
I'm sorry. I just had to, like, throw that in there. Let's lighten up the mood a little bit.
If you could take away anything from this podcast, one, minimum wage workers deserve $15 an hour in the U.S.
Yes, and in Canada, we deserve a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even touch on the whole thing that happened in Alberta with minimum wage. But honestly, that's a whole extra conversation, and that conversation gets really political, and I'm not here for it.
2, treat everyone with the respect that you would treat yourself and your boss.
Yes.
And 3, we're all made of lava.
We're all made of lava.
So I think should we give a shout out? I don't feel like we haven't done shout outs in the last couple weeks.
No, we did a shout out our first week back. And last week, I don't think we shouted anyone out. So we have an idea coming up. We would like to maybe start having someone as our, like, employee of the week or our employee of the month. But we're trying to figure it out. So, Kelsey, who do you want to be our employee of the week this week?
Our employee of the week goes to the one and only @Cantrip on Twitter, the leader of the communism movement. I said he would be our shout out when we finally talked about
minimum wage and exploitation.
Yeah, and how capitalism bad. So there you go.
And they gave us a shout out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like 2 and a bit weeks ago. So this is the least we can do to our 30 people who listen to us weekly.
Spread the love if you like Donkey Kong and video games and communism. I don't know. It's a
fun Twitter.
Yeah.
It's actually really enjoyable. It's @communism.
Yeah. But yeah, Amy, why don't you give us the outro?
Yes. So thank you guys so much for listening again this week. We hope you enjoyed our minimum wage rant. And if not, we'll be back to our regular scheduled shenanigans next week. So don't worry about it. But we just thought this was a very important topic to talk about and to bring to light, because most people who listen have worked a minimum wage job at some point in their life. So we just wanted to bring that to our viewers. And I just want to say, if you don't support minimum wage going up, just stop listening. That's as simple as that. Because I don't care about your opinion. But anyway, we'll move on. But yes, thank you guys so much for listening this week. If you want to follow us, we have a couple different social media platforms. You can follow us on Twitter @CYTMS Podcast. We've been trying to post there a little bit more regularly. So if you want to give us a follow there, we'd love to see ya. You can follow us on Instagram @CanYouTakeMyShift, and there we post updates, we post TikToks, post all sorts of fun things. So just give us a follow there to keep updated on what we're doing all the time. You can listen to our lovely little voices on Anchor, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. And if you listen to us on Apple, please drop us a little 5-star rating or 4 stars. Anything above like a 1 star, that would be great. Or leave us a review if you feel so kind. Those just help us stay on the charts and just help us get more listeners. And you can also listen to us on YouTube, and the YouTube channel is @CanYouTakeMyShift. And then if you want to follow us personally, all our personal accounts are all linked on the Instagram, on the Twitter. So help Kelsey get to her 11,000 followers by the end of the year. That is the goal. And I think that's all the plugs I have this week. So until next time, Kelsey, can you take my shift?
No. Let's just no.
Is it no with a heart?
It's no with a sad sigh.
Oh, okay.
You want to pay me $20 an hour to do it?
I mean, if I could pay you $20 an hour, I most definitely would. I would love to.
So still no.
We'll talk. Maybe if it's in the podcast budget.
Yeah.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.